Okay, hi everyone. My name is Claire and I am a Student Recruitment Officer here at KPMG. And thank you very much for joining our event today, which is Starting Your Career in Audit, a conversation with KPMG. So today we're going to be focusing on what it's like to work in audit, and we're going to be hearing from an audit partner, 3 audit graduates from different office locations. My wonderful colleague Katie will be available to answer all of your questions in the question chat, and we will be taking your questions live in our Q&A panel today. So first of all, you might be thinking, who are KPMG? So KPMG in the UK are a global network of member firms that offers audit, tax, consulting, legal, technology and engineering services. We have 20 UK office locations from Aberdeen to Newcastle to Birmingham to London. And we have around 15,000 people working in the UK and roughly 236,000 people working worldwide. So as I mentioned, this event is all about audit, and this will focus on our audit function. So at KPMG, we offer insight programs, which are our work experience programs, vacation programs, which is our summer vacation programs, 1-year tax business placements, and graduate programs. So you can apply for all of our student programs on kpmgcareers.co.uk. So you can find further details about each program, including eligibility requirements. Our graduate programs start in September 2024, and you can make an application right now. Our application process is made up of 4 stages. The first stage is where you submit an application. There's no CV required. The second stage is our Transforming Small Businesses assessment. The third stage is our written and video assessment, and the fourth and final stage is our Launchpad, which is our assessment centre. So if you have any questions on that, we can cover them live in our Q&A panel today. So let's get started, and please remember this is a fully interactive session, so we encourage questions and participation. It's a safe space where you can ask us anything at all, and you can ask questions on the chat function. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Claire Partridge, who is our audit partner working across both our Leeds and Newcastle office. Claire is going to share her career journey with us today and explain what audit is all about in a little more detail.
Thanks, Claire. Thank you. So as Claire says, I'm Claire Partridge. I'm one of our audit partners, and I have a dual role across the Leeds and Newcastle office, working with what we call our KPE business. That's our KPMG private enterprise. These are non-listed audit clients. I've got a range of clients, a number of care homes, some house builders, and I've worked in the education space, but a real variety that I'm involved in. I'm happily married to my lovely husband, Dave, who's a doctor. I've got 2 girls. One's started at Cardiff University. It's her birthday today. I feel a bit she's a long way away. I should be with her for her birthday, but hey, I guess that's part of growing up, isn't it? And a younger daughter who's just doing her GCSEs. And I'm very passionate about netball. So if anyone on this call likes playing netball and wants to chat, very happy to get engaged with that. And I do very much try and play 2 or 3 times a week myself, and I mix that around my work when I can. So I've been asked today to talk a little bit about my career at KPMG, and I'll talk a little bit about what to expect from audit, really the role of audit as well. So my career. Well, I started as a graduate in KPMG's London office, which was Canary Wharf, but at a time when the Jubilee line didn't even exist. It was quite hard to get out to Canary Wharf back then. And I started in our infrastructure and government team, in the audit team. And I'm still here today. So I look back and I kind of think, well, why am I still here at KPMG? And I'll reflect on this throughout my career journey in a moment. But I look back and I think about the challenges that I've had and the challenges I get day in, day out, the opportunities that I've had, and thirdly, the people that I've worked with at every step of my career in KPMG. Those 3 things really drive why I'm still here today having this career. So I started in London in audit. I worked on some very big clients in that infrastructure place. So I worked on the London Underground audit. I worked on P&O Nedloyd, which was a huge global audit, and I got to go overseas quite a bit and look at their treasury functions in different countries. Really cut my teeth in audit and learned how to be an auditor. Once I'd qualified, after a couple of years, I thought, I just fancy doing something different. And I spoke to my line manager at the time, and they said, "Oh, actually, we've got a client secondment. Would you like to do that for 6 months?" So, yeah, I spent 6 months doing a secondment, actually at the Ministry of Defence, working on a business called Kinetic, which was their commercial arm, and they were actually spinning it out. So I spent 6 months in the finance team, really working out how to carve the business into two and to transact that through their systems. Really interesting, really different work. And actually I was there on 9/11, which when you're on a Ministry of Defence site and you've got your basic security clearance, my security clearance like that changed from basic to, I think they called it Black Watch. I wasn't actually allowed to leave my desk without being escorted. So if I literally wanted to go to the ladies or get a cup of tea, someone had to come and escort me around the building. I'm showing my age there, aren't I, saying I was there in 9/11. But actually for me, it was a great experience. But I found sitting at a client site or sitting with the same team at the same table day in, day out wasn't for me. And I ran back to KPMG because actually the variety you get, the different people that you work with, the different teams that you're working with was something that I really enjoyed doing. And that's something I grabbed back. So I carried on, I progressed to a manager. And again, I got a little bit, I fancy something slightly different here. So alongside my husband, we arranged separately secondments to New Zealand. So I went on a 2-year secondment working in our audit department in Auckland, and I had a beautiful desk looking out over the bay, watching New Zealand. They were doing their sailing and watching. I did some work, but I was watching them sailing as well during the day. Different audit clients, different challenges, different opportunities. And actually, when I talk about opportunities, this was one of my, within a week of getting there, one of the senior managers actually slipped a disc in her back and really was couldn't move at all. And I was parachuted into a last minute job where we were doing a stock exchange listing across the Australia and New Zealand stock exchanges. And I was thrown into that, got to travel to Sydney, met a client, worked with it, and actually delivered a really successful project. About 2 months into my role in New Zealand, I found that I was pregnant. And at this point, my husband is a doctor, and I should say I found out that I was 4 months pregnant. And this wasn't entirely part of the plan. But hey, these things happen, right? And I look back and I talk about the people. Being pregnant the other side of the world is quite a scary thing. But actually, KPMG rallied round, all my colleagues rallied round, and it was a brilliant experience, supported by colleagues, friends. And I was still able to have my first daughter over in New Zealand, come back to work and continue with my career exactly how I would have wanted to. So I guess I'm coming back to this theme of wherever you are in KPMG, you're always working with fantastic people. Following that, we came back to the UK, small child under my arm, and I actually wanted to live this time near my husband's parents, because actually for me to carry on my career, or for us to carry on our career, it was quite important that we could access some support as we needed it. So they're based up in Barnsley. So I now, at that point, took a role in our Leeds office. And the Leeds office turned around to me and said, "Claire, we'd really like you to pick up a role in our public sector audit team." Okay, I'll give that a go. That's a different challenge, a new opportunity. And actually, it was a fascinating opportunity. I got to work and lead audits across the NHS, some of our big university clients, and I progressed in my role. I progressed up to director under the public sector team, eventually partner, and I led the audits of Oxford University. I led the audits of a lot of our NHS clients, and that was during COVID time, when it was it was really interesting seeing the challenges that some of our clients were facing and what that meant for their financial statements as well. And then towards the end of COVID, crikey, I can't remember what year that would be, 2021? Oh, can't remember. KPMG asked me if I could pick up a lead role in Newcastle, because actually that team in Newcastle had a retiring partner and they needed somebody to come in and give that leadership role. So again, great, a new challenge. And I've been doing this role for 3 years now with a wonderful team up in Newcastle, back into our private sector space. So I've kept some of my links to healthcare, hence I do some of the care home businesses, but now in the privately owned space. So, private equity businesses. For example, one I'm looking to sign off next week is a £500 million turnover business with 350 care homes in the UK. Really interesting clients to work with. And that's where I am now. So I guess if I flick back through that, right at the beginning, I said challenge, opportunity, and people. That's why I'm still here. Every day, something will hit my inbox that you're not quite expecting, or you've got to deal with it. Might be somebody in my team's got a particular issue, and you're very much dealing with people on a one-to-one basis. It could be a client phoning and saying, "Oh, would you come and do our audit? It's an opportunity for us," and at which point we'll maybe have a team and consider what we want to do with that. And I still come back to the people. So it's London, New Zealand, Leeds, Newcastle. Clearly, I link in with the partners nationally. Everyone I work with KPMG is someone that I'd consider a friend. And with that, we've got each other's backs. I think that's quite important when you're working in a business which has pressures. It's not an easy job. There are pressures. You need to know that your colleagues are there and they're supporting you. Okay, that's enough about me. I'll move on a little bit to just think about what a role in audit actually means, because I remember being a graduate and I applied for audit. I don't totally think I knew exactly what audit was. At the top level, as auditors, we are giving assurance on financial information, signing off on financial statements. And that is so important. So in the capital markets in the UK, the businesses are attracting hundreds of millions of pounds of capital investment from private equity, from overseas investors, rich individuals, banks, whoever it might be. They're relying on financial information to make really, really big decisions. And we are the piece in that jigsaw that gives that assurance to say, yep, you know what, this information actually is good. This is good to go. Without audit, that whole structure would collapse. It wouldn't exist. So audit plays a fundamentally important part in our business structures in the UK and around the world. We tend to work with what I call larger businesses. So audit at KPMG isn't sitting with a box of invoices. It's too small. We wouldn't do that. We tend to work with businesses with, say, maybe 80 million turnover plus. You clearly can't tick invoices for that. So for us doing an audit, we very much will look at the IT systems that a company's got, understand the systems. You need to understand the business processes, understand your clients. So actually communication, being able to talk to your clients is a really key skill. Getting on with your clients, having interesting conversations about what they do. And then from that, we will do what we call risk assessment, and we will design specific testing. So we'll look at the high risk areas and we'll test information, transactions around that. Obviously, that's a very high level. There's a lot more to it. But fundamentally, we design our processes, test high risk areas, and at the end, conclude whether the financial statements are right. We're quite a regulated business. The auditors are in the press quite a lot, and it is really important that we get it right. And I'm sure the auditors on the call today will assert to this. Documentation is also critical, making sure that what we do is on our files, because that's what we live by, and we have to make sure we get things right is really, really important. But you make it what it is, and I love the role. I love it when we sign off a big audit, when you work as a team, when you come together, you deliver something to a tight deadline, you get a little break afterwards, and there's so much in our job that I absolutely love. I think it's a fantastic career for anyone. Claire, is that sufficient from me?
That's absolutely perfect. Thank you so much, Claire. We have had some great questions come through, and we're going to answer a lot of these in the Q&A panel. But one of the questions we've had come through is, are these jobs based just in London? So the answer is no, they're based across all of the UK, and candidates that apply for jobs at a closer vicinity. So it'd be great if you could tell us a little bit about the Leeds and Newcastle offices, which both are currently recruiting.
Sure. So both as we say, recruiting, we recruit every year into Leeds and Newcastle offices, both self-sufficient teams with their own audit portfolios, and directors and managers. The Leeds office is what we call a hub office. So it's one of our few big offices. And actually there's about 1,000 staff aligned to the Leeds office, and we cover all capabilities. Beautiful, quite new office. I'm sitting in there in one of the board meetings rooms at the moment, which I managed to swipe for a couple of hours. The Newcastle office is a smaller, what we call like a spoke office of the Leeds office. But again, it's a nice office. It's got its own canteen. It's got its own coffee facilities right on the quayside in Newcastle as well. I don't know if anyone that knows Newcastle. Quayside's obviously along the river. Really beautiful views. Really, really great location. I spend a couple of days in each office a week, given my split role. But I couldn't really differentiate them from a working point of view. They're both fully operating teams from the Leeds and Newcastle office. If whoever it is that wants to put some extra bits in the chat or specific questions, I'll see if I can answer them as well.
Thank you so much. So we're going to go across to Mamina.
Hi guys, my name's Mamina. I am a graduate in FS Audit. I'm currently in my third year. The graduate program runs for 3 years. So hopefully I should be qualifying in September this year. So I thought I'll start off with a bit about my background. So I actually have a non-traditional background, I would say. So my undergraduate was in philosophy, politics, and economics. And then I did a master's in global politics. But I was kind of completely unsure on exactly what I should do. By that point, I think I was because I'd done so much humanities, I wanted to do something a bit more vocational. And audit is a great sort of stepping stool to get some really good analytical sort of skills, and also a great qualification and experience within the finance world to see what else you wanted to do. So that's why I did apply for audit and went for audit. So as I said, it was a bit of a change to the regular types of exams I'd been doing in university and the things I'd come across. But I think, number one, KPMG really supports you, and a lot of people come from a variety of different backgrounds. So I remember the first time when I went into college, there was someone who had a PhD in music. I'd come from PP, but then you do get people who have accounting skills. And I think that variety, when you actually see it in a job, is really great as well, because a lot of us can pick up different things from our background when we're actually doing the audit. So that's a bit about my background. As I said, I'm in FS Audit in the Manchester office. So that sits under the umbrella of FS Regions. So that's financial services clients such as, I'm in banking, so that splits down even further to banking and insurance. I'm in banking, so I deal with a lot of banks. I've been on a lot of big banks within the region space. When you're a part of FS Regions, you get to have sort of in the pool of all the non-London banks, it's the Regions Group who looks into that. So I work with a lot of different companies. I worked on a bank over the summer in Wales, but right now my client that I'm on is a Manchester-based client. And what's great about audit, what I would say is sort of the standout for me and during my career, is the variety, as Claire discussed as well. I think nothing is the same in audit, whether that comes to your sort of day-to-day or whether that comes to client, the team that you're working on. You have a lot of choice as well. And I think the variety allows you to sort of decide what you want to do as well. So the client I'm on currently for busy season, I was also on this client last year. But because, as Claire said also earlier, because we have quite big clients, there's a variety of things that you can do on the client. So the things that I was working on last year is a very different thing that I'm working on this, even though it's the same client, because it's so big and they do so many things. I can choose. I was like, this year I'd like to have a look in portfolio section. So now I'm working on that area of the audit. And I think that variety and scope you get by working at a firm like KPMG, where you have these huge clients, and also because you have that supportive network of your managers who are sort of want you to excel, and they know that to do that, that's by doing a variety of different things and sort of being able to choose exactly what you wanted to do. So yeah, that's my sort of the job I'm in currently. Another thing I think also is great is the flexibility of work. And so I regularly work within the office. Our team comes in 3 times a week, one day at the client site and 2 times a week in the office. And I think it's great to have the option to work from home when you need to, but it's also really great to come into the office and have sort of the team culture that we have. But yeah, I think that is so I'm not sure what else you'd like me to add, Claire. That's my
Thank you
general.
so much. Thank you so much for talking us through all of that. So just to address a couple of the questions that are coming through in quite a few common themes. So in order to apply for our graduate programs, we typically look for a 2-1 undergraduate degree or a 2-2 undergraduate degree if you're applying for technology. And it doesn't have to be a finance related subject to apply to get into an audit graduate program. You can have a degree in any discipline. And you can also apply if you have a master's degree, but that's no problem at all. But you do need to have your undergraduate degree with approximately a 2-1. So moving on then to Sanskriti.
Hello, everyone. I'm currently in my second year as a graduate audit trainee based in the Reading office. It's a very small office and the people are so lovely. And I think that is the best part I like about just going to the office and seeing those people. So I did my qualification from Warwick University and I did international management with finance. And as Claire already mentioned, I did not do a master's. I just did an undergrad and I came straight to KPMG. Why I chose audit was mainly because I just wanted an exposure to different industries, different companies, see how they work. And I just did not want to specifically go to one company and restrict myself just to that. So I wanted this 3 years of exposure just to see how different businesses work, how do we scrutinize them, what are the laws and regulations that affect them. Because from an outsider perspective, you get to know so much about what's going on in every company, which is so interesting as an auditor. In my 1 year, I have worked with different industries. I've worked in pharmaceuticals, I've worked in real estate, consumer products, and every team that I have worked with, it's such a nice and different experience. I have had coffee breaks with them. We are planning a trip with my cohort who I go to college with. So it's just so nice that I go to the office and it's just like, oh, do you have 5 minutes? And you can just go away, catch up, especially during January to June, which is such a busy time of the year for everyone. And it can be really, really daunting. And at the end of the day, what makes it really enjoyable and what makes you go through these hard moments is just having the people be there. It's okay. We have got you. If you want a break, we'll come with you. And I think that is the biggest part for me. Secondly, I also like the challenges. Main challenge, like working with clients can be very different. You have really good clients, you have some clients who can be challenging. Just even as a first year person dealing with the financial controller and asking, okay, why does this make sense or why does this not make sense, you might just think, okay, I do not have that knowledge to even ask that. But I think that is one thing that you just need to explain to yourself. As long as you question, that is really essential. You need to question and challenge at every point and not just take things at face value. So that is really encouraged at KPMG. So never stop asking questions is one thing that I would like to suggest to you. Challenging is really important. And thirdly, opportunities. I have always been interested in volunteering, and that is something that I wanted to take part at KPMG as well. So every week, Tuesday, I go to a school in KPMG and we read books with kids just to improve their English vocabulary. And besides that, I tutor as well on Thursdays or Fridays every week just for an hour. So if you want to volunteer, if you have any questions about that, just let me know. KPMG also has 6 days of allowance in a year to just volunteer. So that is something, if people are interested, it's really good to look into. So I think I have covered pretty much everything that I have been involved in. But Claire, if you would like me to add anything else. please let me know.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're going to move across to Kavya.
Hi everyone, I'm Kavya and I work in the Aberdeen office up in the very northern parts of Scotland. I joined the Aberdeen office in particular because I really wanted to stay in Scotland. I went to university in Edinburgh and I didn't want to leave Scotland. And I really enjoyed my time in Aberdeen. We're a very small, close-knit office. We do work across the Scottish offices as well. All our trainings are done in Glasgow, which is great. I love the expense policy, but I also really enjoy working in the Aberdeen office because it's so small. Everybody gets to know each other. We do so many events together. It's really fun. In terms of the industries that we work in, Aberdeen is the oil capital of the UK. So we do audit a lot of oil and gas companies. Recently, one of the companies that I've been working on, they deal with pipes and wells, but they've gone through a huge acquisition in the year. So it's been really interesting work, trying to work across so many different entities. Our scope has changed. We're doing lots of different work papers and business acquisitions. And those are things that normally you would not be working on. You'd generally be doing a normal audit. So it's been a really interesting time. I've really enjoyed the work. It is challenging, but I think it's really helped in terms of applying what I've learned during my CA studies to how I actually work. So that's also been really great. I do want to clarify, I didn't study accounting in university. I studied math. So I came from a background completely new to accounting, but it's been a really great experience. I've learned so much and I've been able to pick up so much as well. I'm really not sure how much more to go on and say. I feel like I always talk about the same things, which is just about how great the Aberdeen office is, because I really do feel like the office that you choose can be a very make or break experience. I always talk about at lunchtime, we've got a huge table. We have directors, managers, senior managers, graduate trainees, everybody having lunch together. And I think it's an environment that's not always easily replicated across other regional offices. So I do highly recommend applying to Aberdeen if you have the choice. I think the connections you gain, just that office experience, I think that really makes or breaks your experience, especially when you work in audit. You're always working in teams and you're trying to get the audit done together as a team. I highly recommend Aberdeen. I really do enjoy audit as well. I think it's a great foundation for becoming a CA, for just understanding how finances work, because people move on to do a lot of different things after audit. You can go into industry, you can work as a financial accountant, be on the other side of the auditors, you can move into financial consulting, ESG. There's just so much you can do, but it's a really good foundation in order to learn how best to apply those skills to other industries. I'm not really sure what else to say, Claire, unless there's anything else you'd like me to talk about.
Nope, that's perfect. Thank you so much. So I've been having a look through the questions just now. So thank you so much to everyone who's asked a question. My colleague Katie has been answering as many as she can. So there's quite a few different questions here. Someone asking about, do we offer summer internships? So we offer summer internships, which are our vacation programs, and you can apply for those right now on KPMG.co.uk. Someone else asking if our graduate programs are all open at the moment for applications to start in the 1st of September. So yes, they absolutely are. You can apply for all of our graduate programs that are open on kpmgcareers.co.uk and they start in September. Quite a few questions on international candidates and do we accept international candidates? Yes, we absolutely do accept applications from international candidates. And quite a few common themes then. So Claire, could you please tell us a bit more about, quite a lot of people are saying they don't have any experience in audit. They've never worked in audit before. They didn't do their degrees in audit. What does that mean for them applying for the audit graduate scheme? What will they be getting involved in? And, you know, what's it like to come in with no experience?
Well, I think every single one of us on this call I didn't do an accounting audit degree. I did a science-based degree. So I think all of us started without that experience. And quite genuinely, I don't think that matters whatsoever. Because at KPMG, we give you all the training you need on what you need to do in audit and what the technical guidance is and how to do audits. Actually, what we're looking for is people with skills, right? And I think I was actually going to maybe jump in and say, I quite often get the questions, what skills do you need to be an auditor? If we're going for interviews and I've not got an accounting background, how am I going to get through an interview? And actually that's because we're looking for people with skills and aptitude that can join us, learn with us, be part of our team and really develop with us. And that's a lot softer. But I would say the skills that work well, being quite logical does help, having a logical brain. And that doesn't mean you've had to do a maths degree, but being able to problem solve is really important, and being able to demonstrate that through your experiences, be it at university or just your life experiences, being able to demonstrate those problem solving skills is important. And I think being able to communicate is really, really important as well. We're working as part of a team internally at KPMG and with our clients. So rather than sort of box it and say, oh, no, you have to have ticked this box, I open it up and say, well, if you can come and show, we talked about the sort of the 2-1 base requirements, there's some sort of educational base requirements, but on top of that, being inquisitive, being able to problem solve, being able to work as a team, being able to learn, being willing. I think that's really important as well, because I'm sure looking at our team here, there's a lot to learn, right? And there's constantly things to learn. Every week there's something new to learn. So a willingness to embrace change, to change things and change approach is really important. Anyone want to add to that from the team?
I think I would just agree with you, Claire. As I said earlier as well, I really didn't have a background in accounting, but it is just about learning on the spot. And I think that it is great. It's like you're continually learning. I think it's not even just over the 3 years when you become chartered, you carry on learning.
It's different skills, isn't it, at different levels? Yeah. There's the learning to get through some exams, but actually I think you develop your career and you sort of you learn how much you don't know as well. And there's different skills and different experiences and soft skills that you're constantly learning.
I think also just to add to the accounting background and all of that, in my graduate cohort, I think out of the 7 of us, only 1 person had an accounting background. In the Aberdeen office especially, we've got a lot of chemical engineers, a lot of lawyers, a lot of chemists. So people from a wide variety of backgrounds. Very few people actually have studied accounting. And I think it does benefit you in a little bit because you tend to really internalize what you learn and you really do apply that, which sometimes when you studied accounting, you tend to kind of take it for granted that you know that.
Thanks so much. And Claire, we've had a question regarding, are there any professional courses, online courses, volunteering work, or any kinds of ways that students can prepare ahead for getting involved in audit if they were to apply for a graduate programme?
I don't know for sure about online courses, but I would probably come back to what I said earlier, and if I talked about the skills and the experience we're looking for, I can't remember the exact words I said, but talking about being able to show how do you react in a difficult situation, how do you learn, how do you work as a team, how do you communicate, how do you can get your point across. If you think about some of those more softer skills, and perhaps practice those with questions. So you might have various things in your life, something great you've done. Well, what did you show? What did you work as a team? What was the challenge? And you can practice with your friends, with your family, and being able to talk about your real experiences. I think as I do some of the interviews sometimes, what I want to hear is, what have you done? Did you do that? And, you might want to talk about detail. I had this big project. It was really hard, but actually I actually I did one really late night and I bought myself digestive biscuits to get through it. We want to hear those real life experiences of where you've had challenges and really shown that you can shine and get through things. So you can practice those. You can think about those examples, and you can bring those into the interview situations.
Thank you so much. We've had quite a lot of questions regarding our application process. So I've mentioned that it's made up of 4 stages. It starts with submitting your details. You need a 2-1 undergraduate degree if you're applying for audit. If you've just not made the 2-1 and you have a 2-2, you can still apply because we will look at your application form and other areas that you may have excelled in. So please do still apply if you got a 2-2 and you're interested in an audit career. The second stage of our application process is the Transforming Small Businesses Assessment, and we do have a practice test online on kpmgcareers.co.uk. So if you visit that website, you can do our practice test first. You then go on to the third stage, which is our written video assessment. And lastly would be our Launchpad, which is our assessment centre. And I wonder if some of our grads could please talk us through how they found the application process.
I don't mind starting. So mine was a bit different. I did it during COVID, so it was all virtual when I did it, but it kind of followed a similar structure of a few online tests, and then I guess what would be the online in-person Launchpad day. It was just online. But I think Claire said earlier, it's good to have a logical mind, and I think that is sort of the approach I took with the application process, and just sort of when you do the online test, just think about it logically, think about it slowly. I think genuinely what you would do in the situation, because it is to see if you're a fit for KPMG, but also if KPMG is a fit for you. And I think sort of going in with it with that mindset and sort of being relaxed and taking it sort of very level-headed is a good approach when doing it.
Thank you so much. So we've had a question, which is what skills or areas should I work on to pass the graduate assessments? So the first thing that would be beneficial is to do the practice test, which is available online. And also online is full details of our application process, as well as the 11 key strengths that we look for. So at KPMG, the types of things that we'll be looking for throughout the application process are things like career motivation, to drive quality, to demonstrate integrity, to be a critical thinker, to be resilient, a good communicator, and to foster innovation. And there's 11 key strengths on there, which you can have a further read about. And it's always good to have a think of examples, maybe in part-time jobs or at university during university group work, where you might have displayed some of these strengths that you can talk about when you come to interview with us. So I'm just going to move over to Kavya now to ask, could you please tell us a bit about what does a typical day look like for you?
So normally I start my day around 9:15, depending what time I get to work. In this snow right now, it's been taking a lot longer than expected. But normally, so the audit that I'm working on, because like I mentioned, due to the acquisition that we've had, we have quite a big team this time. So we've got about 13 people working on the audit. And it's also been one of those audits where it's not just restricted to the Aberdeen office. We've also got people down in Edinburgh working on the audit as well. So we start our days at 9:30 with a catch-up meeting. So everybody in the team just kind of gets together. We chat about what we're doing, what the plan is for the day, what we've achieved yesterday, where people are needing help, where people are done with work and they're looking for work. So just to kind of get a feel for how the rest of the day is going to go. And then typically I just work through the tasks that I've been, I would say assigned, but now that I'm in my third year, I'm taking on more of an in-charging or more of an assistant manager role, preparing for that progression. So I've been in charge of sections on the file. I've been in charge of entities. So it's more about taking responsibility for my day. I have lunch at 12 and then I kind of get back to work. Normally in audit, we say we have a busy period, and that's January to April, because most of our clients, their year ends tend to be in December. So we're really trying to get a head start on the audits that we're working on so that we can try and finish them, or at least get most of them done, so that by summer it's a nice, easy sign-off. These months, they are quite busy, but during the summer, audit's really enjoyable. It's a bit of a more relaxing time. People finish at a reasonable time, and we really enjoy the best of the summer weather. No day is the same. Every day will be different depending on the client you're working on. You work on different areas, you work on different tasks, but it's always enjoyable, and I really do enjoy our catch-up sessions. It's nice to hear what everyone's been up to and to know that you're not the only one struggling.
Thank you so much. One of the questions we have is, what is the minimum gap period of reapplication? So you can apply for one student program per year. So you can make one application for any student program for 2024. If you made one in 2023, then that's okay. You can still apply again for 2024. So could one of our graduates please talk us through the learning and development, the exams side of audit, please?
I can go ahead. I mean, I've just done not 9 exams out of 15. So Okay, 60% through in 1 year. Okay, that's still a lot. But at the same time, I feel I love it. I love how the exams are structured because you get so much time off work, especially if it's around busy season. You can take those days off and just focus on, and it's such a nice break from just working constantly and just focusing on exams as well and focusing on studying as well. And a lot of things that you study, like tax or law, it's very applicable in areas that you actually work on in term. So, for example, I had a laws exam last summer, and I never worked on laws and regs as part of KPMG. And all of a sudden, the area I'm working on right now is laws and regs. And I'm like, okay, I've studied about this. I know what I need to look for. I know what I need to challenge. So I think it is very nice that what you actually study for can also be applied in real life. I also like for that aspect doing tax, even though the exams are really challenging, you need to learn all the dates, deadlines, and things like that. But doing things like tax credits or how it impacts different companies and even doing your own taxes whenever you review your pay slips and things like that is really nice as well to see, okay, what happened last month? Is there a comparative this year, this month? So I think it is very applicable to personal life, the work you do, and everything, I'd say. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I think there's a couple of questions just regarding sort of differences between the graduate programme and coming in as an experienced hire. And I think that if you join the graduate programme, then you're taught everything that you need to know on the graduate scheme. It's a 3-year programme, and you can come and you don't have to have any experience. They teach you everything there is to know about audit. Whereas obviously if you go to an experienced higher role, you would have to have a certain level of understanding dependent on the role that you went in. It would be dependent, of course, on what you were applying for. So Claire, can you please tell us a bit more about the best and worst parts of your role in audit?
Ooh. So I think I'll come back to the best parts for me are working as a team. And the buzz you get from working as a team. And that can be 2 of you on a phone call solving a problem. It can be 10 of you signing off an audit and going out to celebrate afterwards. Those are the real buzz moments where you just think, that really contributed here. What are the worst points? It's when you've got a full day, you turn up at work, something lands in your inbox that demands 3 hours of your urgent attention, but you really haven't got 3 hours to do that. That is a reality. And then you're juggling things, you're firefighting, you're phoning your colleagues to say, "Can you help?" And that's what happens. And when you just think, that your stress levels go up, and we've all got our mechanisms to cope with those stress levels. And again, that flips into the end of the day when you've successfully delivered this and sorted things out with your team, you get the buzz. So you get your ups and your downs, but the down is probably they're like buses, aren't they? Sometimes audit work is like buses. 3 things land at the same time, and 3 clients all demand something the same day. And actually, our skills and experience teach us to learn with that and deal with that in an appropriate way. And sometimes that's saying to the client, "Sorry, I can't respond today. We'll respond tomorrow when I've got time."
Thank you so much. And could you tell us what has surprised you the most about KPMG?
What surprised me the most?
Yeah.
I think what surprises me all the time now, and this has been probably at every level of my career at KPMG and at different points, but even now as a partner, leading one of our offices and leading a team, is the fact that you can ask a question of anybody in KPMG. So actually I did one this morning. I reached out to a partner in our financial services team who I didn't know particularly well, but I had a very specific question. I thought, I wonder if he could help. Straight back on the phone to me, help me out. He's linked me in with somebody else who's going to solve quite an important client issue within 24 hours for me. So what surprises me is that this willingness of everybody to help each other out. And you just have to put your hand up and everyone rallies round.
Thank you so much. So if anyone has any further questions, please pop them into the chat and we will answer more of your questions. Do any of our grads have many opportunities for travel around the UK or international travel? Have you had any opportunities recently?
I could answer that.
Yeah.
So before the pandemic, a lot of the companies that we work on, because they're all oil and gas, a lot of them have parent companies in the US. So there used to be lucky trips to Texas, Houston, other parts of the US, just depending on the client need. But obviously now with COVID, we've realized that we can actually do a lot of work from online. So those trips have reduced a lot, but you do still tend to travel across Scotland, some as well down to England as well. I know we have teams who've gone down to Manchester, Greater Yarmouth. So a lot of different places around the UK you can still travel. In Aberdeen, because we are the big city for most of the north of Scotland, a lot of our clients are actually spread across the north. So we go out a lot into Aberdeenshire, we go up to Inverness. So we do a lot of travel like that. It can be quite lovely in the summer. The weather is warm, the Highlands are beautiful. You get a nice dinner out of it. Not a lot of international travel anymore, but you do travel as well. Just maybe temper a bit of expectations.
So secondments aside, like I think COVID obviously stops secondments, and we're now starting to see that door open again. And so you guys probably haven't seen some of that. We'll see more and more international secondments. Interestingly as well, we've had some partner briefings on this recently. Some of the auditing standards are moving, and the ISO 600, which is when you've not expecting anyone on the call to know what that is, but it's when you've got a group audit, it's how you interact with your overseas teams and how you review. Actually, the emphasis on that is coming back to you actually need to go, and you need to go overseas, and you need to sit with them. So I think some of that, if you're working on the big global audits, we're going to see a real trek back to getting some of that international travel and experiences, which isn't for everybody, but for some people, that's what makes them tick. That's what they want to be doing with their career. So brilliant.
On my client, actually, we've got components, and the in charge who is doing that area of the audit will go. So last year they went to the Netherlands, they went to Portugal. This year, I think they're just going to the Netherlands. So it does happen every year.
Thanks so much. So quite a few people asking about experienced hire roles again versus graduate roles, citing that they have some experience or that they might have some ACCA experience. So it would be up to yourself whether you want to apply for a graduate or an experienced hire role. We've dropped the link for experienced hire roles into the chat. But again, if you're applying for a graduate program, we teach you everything there is to know about audit. And Sanskriti, can you please tell us a little bit more about the social side of the Reading office?
Yeah, sure. So my best part about the Reading office is the Christmas party and the summer party. I think other people would also like to agree about their local offices. But yeah, it's just Christmas, especially December. Everyone is in such a happy and nice mood. Like you wouldn't see any tension on anyone's mind. Everyone is just happy. Everyone is just very chill. Everyone is just ready to have a good time and be ready for the break. So that is really good. And every day you'd start to see like social gatherings start to increase around November and December. Everyone will be like, let's have a Christmas lunch, a team Christmas lunch. Let's go for a dinner or something at the end of the day. Let's go for some drinks or something like that. So that will really increase. And that will also heighten up and when you are nearing the signing of your audited files between January and June. This is mainly because you would like to encourage that team aspect, because obviously if you work at the office beyond 8 p.m., you do get that lunch allowance, dinner allowance. So just having your team come together, order a dinner and just sit, that is a little bit of social aspect as well, because you just want to sit together and not talk about work when you're having to work for such a long period of time. So that is one thing. Then when you go to client sites, when we went to Oxford or when we went to different sites, we'd go to malls or we'd go and experience the new food markets or festivals around with the team, just to see between the lunch or after the day got over, just to see how everyone was doing and just to ensure that we were just happy at the end of the day. So, yeah. there is a lot of social aspect. And I'd say that as grads, when you join, you just take the initiative and say, oh, do you want to catch up with me? Do you want to go for a coffee? Do you want to get dinner with me? And I swear no one will ever say no to you. And that will help you build those connections in the long run as well.
Thank you so much. So Claire, we have a question which is from a student who is specialising in operations, project and supply chain management. What specific skills or experiences would you recommend acquiring to make a successful transition into the audit domain? So the question's essentially asking what are the most important and key skills to be an auditor?
Yeah, and I think we're probably covering some of the ground we've covered already here. So I come back to it doesn't matter what you've studied, some of those key skills and thinking about how you would approach the interview. It's about being innovative, working as a team, being able to problem solve. And I think, Claire, you did that list that's on our intranet site. Fortunately, the things I said replicated quite well with the actual words that you said as well. I think you could do worse than look down that list. I've got the sun coming round, it's like awkward. Look at that list and think about, well, what experiences have I got? And I can answer about that. And if you've got a gap, that's where you might want to think about, okay, well, how do I develop those skills? And quite often they're soft skills. They're not like an exam course or a particular technical training. They're quite often a soft skill, but you can probably assess where your development areas are. And you can, again, talk to friends and colleagues. How do you perceive me against this skill? And I bet they'll have ideas as well and go, oh, actually, you're a great listener because the other day when I had this problem, we sat down and whatever it might be. But you can really think about those topics and how you can bring those into an interview situation. And stating the obvious here, those are the skills that we know lead to successful careers and people that will do well in their exams as well. That's an audit career. People are different, and there will be probably people in the school that actually those skills aren't for you, and a career for KPMG isn't for you. So this is about, we want to attract the right people, and we want to be open to the right people. And if you think you're right, brilliant. Let's come and have a conversation.
Thank you so much. And Mamina, could you please tell us a bit more about the Manchester office, the social side, what the people are like, and if you've been involved in any volunteering or opportunities at the Manchester office?
So our team is quite big actually. So we have a lot of internal team things that we do. So we have a baking rota. This week was my week. We had some Lotus Biscoff cupcakes on offer. So we have things that go on. My team also has a weekly Pictionary on a Friday afternoon where we like to all play Pictionary for half an hour. So those are like little internal team things we do. But then there's also the wider FS audit community, and we have socials monthly. So some months it'll be going to a comedy club. Sometimes we'll be go play cricket. It can be really varied, very different. And then there's loads of volunteering opportunities. So I like to do like different stuff every year. One thing that I've sort of done every single year up until now is I volunteer with National Numeracy Day, which is it's a sort of initiative that's KPMG wide. So I think one year I went to a primary school and spoke to kids about maths and, a career in audit to 5-year-olds, which was very interesting. And then last year they actually came to the KPMG office. I think it was like year 5 and year 6 pupils. And we spoke about, again, a career in finance. And it's really, it takes you out of sort of your regular day to day. And I think before I spoke about variety, and it really does add that variety to your week. And then sort of recently in the summer, I also did a Green Day volunteering where we went to a meadow and helped dig up things for a day. So there's a lot of things that you can get involved with.
Thank you so much. We have a question in the chat, which is, what's the main ethos or principles of the KPMG business that you admire? So Sanskriti, and what are the best things about KPMG for you?
I think the biggest driving factor would be people. Just having so many people who come from different backgrounds and just respecting what backgrounds they come from, the different ideas they bring, and just having them at the end of the day, just sitting across with them on a table and, you just don't know. If you're discussing one thing, there might be 7 different opinions, 7 different people might have. And if you just look back from a perspective, you might just say, okay, I agree with all those 7 perspectives at the same time, but you wouldn't have thought about those perspectives at all. That is one of the biggest things. Secondly, volunteering or opportunities. So you can become trustees, you can become part of governance in terms of schools, in terms of private tutoring, and so many and other things. Like there is Marie Curie involvement as well of KPMG. So you get to be a part of so many different things besides just auditing in your daily lives. Thirdly, having a chance to always switch your careers within the firm. I know so many people who are my seniors who went into either deals or switched to consulting after doing a secondment or something. But having that experience for 3 years, just because they did not want to leave the company, and having that chance within the company just to experience something different, and they actually enjoyed it, is another thing that I really admire about the company as well.
Thank you so much. So that is almost 3 o'clock and we are at the end of our session now. So I'd just like to thank everyone who's come along to our session today. Thank you everyone for taking part and for all of your amazing questions. To apply for any of our student roles and any of our audit vacancies that we have available, then please visit kpmgcareers.co.uk. If you have any further or follow-up questions, you can email us at graduate@kpmg.co.uk. With any questions you have at all. So I'd just like to thank our full panel today. So thank you to Claire, Mamina, Kavya, Sanskriti and Katie for monitoring our chat function today. And thank you everyone for taking part. I believe there will be a recording. And thank you so much for everyone for asking all of your questions. So that brings us to the end of our session. So thank you everyone and bye-bye.
Thank you.